Bangladesh applauds 20% US tariff as good news for apparel industry. Now the news are details. Bangladesh has welcomed the outcome of trade negotiations with Washington, securing a 20% tariff rate on its exports to the US under a sweeping new executive order issued by President Donald Trump. The order imposes import duties of up to 41% on 70 countries, part of a broader US strategy to tie trade access to commitments on economic reform, trade balances, and national security cooperation. Today, we successfully avoided a potential 35% reciprocal tariff. That's good news for our apparel sector and the millions who depend on it, said Khalil Ramha, Bangladesh National Security Advisor, who was part of the negotiation team in Washington. We have also preserved our global competitiveness and opened up new opportunities to access the world's largest consumer market. The outcome ensured that Bangladesh remains on par with key rivals in the apparel export market, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Pakistan, and Indonesia, all of which received similar tariff levels of 19 to 20%. India, by contrast, was hit with a 25% tariff after failing to reach a comprehensive agreement. We negotiated carefully to ensure that our commitments aligned with our national interest and capacity, Rahman said. Protecting our apparel industry was a top priority, but we also focused our past commitments on US agricultural products. This supports our food security goals and fosters goodwill with US farming states. President Trump's executive order follows months of tense bilateral negotiations and marks the most aggressive reworking of US trade relationships since the start of his administration. Countries were required not only to agree on tariff adjustment but also to address wider US concerns, including non-tariff barriers and domestic policies seen as contributing to trade imbalance. According to the White House, the final tariff rate applied to each country reflects the depth of its commitment across a range of strategic, economic, and regulatory dimensions. Countries that fail to sufficiently address US priorities received some of the highest tariff levels, while those willing to align more closely with US demands were offered partial relief. For Bangladesh, the stakes were especially high. The country's apparel industry, employing over 4 million workers, relies heavily on US buyers. Bangladesh has potentially avoided a scenario that could have disrupted exports to its most critical market. In his immediate reaction shared by the Bangladesh embassy in Washington, Commerce Advisor S.K. Bashiruddin said, with the 20% tariff imposed on Bangladesh, we will remain in a competitive position. There is no possibility that our exports to the United States will be hampered. However, here we had expected a rate below 20%. The news and third